This problem is the oldest problem statement in the world. These are the four building blocks of any LLM. So whatever tool you're using, Copilot, Claude, GPT, so on and so forth, generative AI for product managers.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are super energized today on a Saturday morning. Um, we are very, very happy to see so many of you here today. And we'll quickly start off with the session. We already started with, like Pamit said, some bit of masala in terms of our bit in terms of doing a video from AI versus not AI as well, right? So this is a workshop that we have created on generative AI for product managers. Throughout this workshop, we'll have a lot of hands-on activities. It won't just be theory and something that you might not enjoy, right? You will obviously learn some theoretical bits, but you will do a lot of hands-on activities. A lot of tools are going to be covered in this. And all the things that you do would be from the perspective that as an existing product manager or as someone who wants to get into product management, what are the things that you should know? Now I say you should, so that you can accelerate your career forward, right? So great to see all of you so active and energetic today, and you will have an amazing session that I can assure you for, right? I'll quickly walk you through the agenda that we have for today. So we'll walk you through the classification and different types of AI that is there. How has product management, transformed in this new Gen AI world, right? Then we'll move on to doing a very exciting case study on product discovery, right? We'll do data gathering research, analysis of structured and unstructured data. We'll build personas and understand the pain points as well. Um, and then work towards what is the exact problem statement that we want to focus on, how do we hypothesize this, and what are the product strategies that we can get out of it, right? Then we move on to brainstorm about AI as well, and how can you leverage all the Gen AI related techniques that you have learned further in your journey. Okay. We have some bonus tips, but of course, if we have the time, right, we will cover that. We have Pamit Anand, who is the SVP and head of product at Magic Bricks. He has mentored over 1,500 students. I think this number is way above. This is just our ballpark number that he has mentored, right? He was also the director of product at Ola. He has been the founding member of Shadi.com. One sneak peek in the next slide as well. And he has been an angel investor at Milk Basket and Recipe Cup, right? A quick note at some of his accolades as well. So he has been awarded IAMAI. This is a mouthful. Best product leader. He was also covered by ET Brand Equity. You can just see some snapshots here. And if you love his session now, right, you can hear more of him on a lot of podcasts that he has been featured in. One of which being Shunya One, where you can possibly hear some of his more insights as well, right? And this is him being the founding member as well with Anupam Mittal. So, just a short photo for all of you. Hey, Pamit, I hope, you are excited. I see the audience is too excited. I'm very, very happy with the energy that the audience has today.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for that introduction. I don't know how you got your hands on that picture, but well done. And I think just a couple of things about the session today. It's a very important topic. I'm glad to see that 300 plus people have turned up on a Saturday morning. Now, this is going to be, I promise that we'll try and keep this session both fun and engaging, but at the same time, very, practically relevant. Now, there's one small call out though, that while my effort will be to make this very engaging, I want you guys to try and avoid leaping to your laptops unless I ask you to. Now, the reason I'm doing that is that a lot of these tools that we'll be using, they tend to distract you. You'll go into various features, you'll do a lot of clicking, and you will not listen to what I'm saying. I'd rather have you just focus on what I'm trying to explain to you. Treat it like a bit of a one-sided dialogue, but I will be asking you questions. So when I ask you questions, when we're trying to have a discussion, that's when you go to chat. At this stage today, just try and avoid the temptation of going to those various tools, including ChatGPT and other tools, to try it out yourself. You'll have enough opportunity to do that. These tools are quite freely available. The important part of it is going to be understanding how to use these tools. Coming back to what you need to be doing. So this session, guys, you'll have to bear with me and listen to me. Otherwise, it will become very, very difficult for you to follow, and it will be difficult for me to keep track of where, the entire 300 of you mentally, where you are, whether you're focused or not. This is being done virtually, so that makes it a little more challenging because it's very difficult to know what's going on. That's point one. Point number two, as far as the session is concerned, is just remember, this is a workshop on generative AI for product managers. Now, in that sense, I am a classical product manager. I'm a big believer in classical product management. Why I say that is, the job of generative AI, or the job of AI to that extent, is always to solve product problems. The job of a product guy comes before the job of the Gen AI. So, to make things simpler, what is the job of a product manager? The job is to identify the right problems and then solve them right. Okay. So to a large extent, the temptation when using AI tools is, you take the tool and you try to backward, find for a solution. You try to find a problem. We're not going to try and do that. In certain cases, I will be taking liberty where, I will, because I'm trying to also simulate real world environment. So in certain cases, I may actually go from a solution to a problem, but that's actually cheating, right? In the classical sense, you want to be actually looking at problem statements, and then from those problem statements, moving to what could be a nice way to solve the problem. So the focus should be on product management, classical product management, but of course not vanilla product management. I'm using these terms a little loosely, guys, but do understand that you will find a lot of people out there who will try and focus on the tools themselves. That's usually a bad sign, right? You need to be focusing on the problem statement. So let's start with a very basic exercise. I think it's a fairly obvious thing when it comes to the world of AI. There is so much of what I call hot takes on it. There's so much of it's too much of a buzzword, and it's become so much of a buzzword. If you look at that meme that you have on your present on your slide, that what does that meme trying to say to you? It says that basically it's trying to say that not everything is AI. Everything in this world nowadays is being sold to you as AI. And to give you a very recent example, I work with the Times Group, and there are a lot of these startup founders who do come and pitch for investment to us. And one of them was actually pitching a very basic workflow expense management fintech product. And it was a very basic product. So I could obviously make out that there was absolutely no AI in it. It was click, 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 workflows, approvals, that kind of a standard UX workflows kind of a product. But he obviously tried to force the idea that this is a AI powered product. Why I say that is that I would like that product managers have the basic understanding of the AI ecosystem to be able to make out what kind of an AI a certain product is, what kind of an AI would help in a certain case, and then further deep dive into generative AI. Today's session, of course, is about generative AI. But before we take the journey to generative AI, I'd like to spend 5 or 7 minutes to understand two things. One is, coconut oil does not have AI, right? That's what Batman is slapping Robin for. He's saying, boss, you can't tell me that this is AI powered. It is coconut oil. So there are certain places where, like I said earlier, you don't want a solution to be forcing itself and finding a problem. You don't want to be doing that, right? So that's basically the meme. And let's do a little exercise. Now is the time that you can all go to your chat boxes, and it'll be interesting to see some of your answers. I'd like to see, we're doing a very basic true or false just to warm up, right? About whether a particular product or feature is indeed AI powered or not. We'll go to the first I'll do two or three, and then we'll get into the depth of it. All right. So you're seeing the screen of Netflix here, right? So this is a Netflix recommendation screen. My question to the audience is this AI powered or not? Do you think this is an AI powered product, this particular feature, or do you think it is not powered by AI? It's a simple product which does not have AI in it. Let me just look at a few answers. I'm sure that many of you from the product world, people who are not from product also should be able to make a decent guess about whether it is an AI product. I have several people saying true. There's one or two saying no, which is interesting. That's good to see that there's little bit of debate out there. Just to read out what the Netflix recommendation engine has on your screen right now. It has this ranking logic. It has rows. It has certain metadata. It has all of these row titles. It has a little bit of a synopsis. These image posters, right, which many people call art, right, image art. So all of this is whether it is AI or not. Answer is all right. So for a few of you who've got it wrong, I'll say that no, it is actually an AI. It is not a generative AI. So important to understand, all AIs are not generative AI. Generative AI actually generates some kind of a complex output related to language based output, or a image or a video based output. So in this case, this is not generative AI. This is a simple. It's a recommendation engine. It's an ML based recommendation engine which works on a deep learning logic. The deep learning logic is basically it's a feed forward kind of a logic. Unlike a feedback logic, it's a feed forward logic. So what it does is that it kind of takes into account the user's details. So let's say you're logging in from Mumbai, you're 24 years of age, if you're a male, you like to watch action movies. So it takes all of that context and it personalizes the recommendations, not just the order in which the recommendations are played out, it also personalizes the art. So the artwork is also personalized. Akshay, you're absolutely right. It is indeed similar to the Spotify engine. Now, very interestingly, though, recommendation engines of products like Spotify, Netflix, to a certain extent, even Amazon, they also have a logic in which it's played. Even Google search results have a bit of a recommendation logic, right? Which is now famous for amongst the SEO guys as search logic. Yes, Ajit, you're right. YouTube, all of these are one-sided recommendation engines. They are complex in terms of the logic that is built into it. In the case of Netflix, if you read Netflix's blog, Netflix tries to optimize for four goals. It tries to give diversity of content, it tries to give freshness of content, it tries to achieve awareness of content, and it tries to achieve relevance of content. So there are four things that this algorithm is trying to achieve every time you log into your homepage. There are four things it tries to achieve. Rohit, Instagrams is a little more of a feed-based logic, which is it's similar, but it's a little different in terms of how it plays out. So let me talk to you about YouTube and Netflix. These are recommendation engines, which are one-sided recommendation engines, which are optimizing for four goals, largely four goals. If you look at Netflix's blog, which is freshness of the content, it should be fresh content. If it is fresh content, it starts getting boosted in the ranks. If it is diverse content, they try to make sure that you see some level of diversity, something that you watched last week, similar movies. Then they try to ensure that there is some level of awareness they create about new content. And of course, then there is relevance. So they're trying to optimize. But the answer to the original question, yes, this is AI powered. It is not generative AI powered. So that is an important distinguish. Collaborative filtering is something they used to use in the beginning, Ashik, good point. They've moved away from that. They've moved towards more advanced neural networks, etc. We don't have to talk about ML in detail. Today we'll be talking about GPT, we'll be talking about generative AI, but I wanted you to start off with another kind of AI. All right, let's go to the next slide, Sakshi. So true, it is an AI. Netflix feature is an AI. Now, the second one is this film that actually didn't play out. So I will not, waste much time on it. In case it plays now, well and good. Otherwise, we can go to the next one. Just see if it plays out, the audio. All right. Now the second one, I'll tell you the secret, because this is basically a film ad. It is not AI. So there was a film ad which the product space team downloaded. They just put a voiceover on top of that. If had we been lucky, you would have known that the voiceover was actually mine. So the person speaking in the background was actually me. I did it last evening, and this is not an AI. This is simple video editing that has been done. It's when we try to do it using a video generation AI, there are video generation AIs, but when we try to do it using video generation AI, the output was not as good as we wanted. So in this particular case, there are, of course, options to do video generation. Yes, Harish, this video is on mute. And, forget about that. This is simple video editing software that we've used. So don't worry. This is not AI. Of course, it's a video about AI. So to that extent, it does have AI in it, but there is no real AI component in it. Let's go to the next slide. All right. WhatsApp again. WhatsApp chat, guys. So when you do a chat now, WhatsApp has a meta bot on it. The meta bot is something that you can ignore. Forget about the meta bot. Talk about the WhatsApp chat. All right. So tell me, what do you think? Yeah, Nitya, thanks for the comment on my accent on that TV ad. I'm glad that it looked realistic. But coming back to this, what is the WhatsApp chat? What do you think WhatsApp chat is? Is it AI powered? Do you think it has AI in it? Is the core feature AI? That's correct. So all of you have got it right. Maria, Kavitanjali, Preet, everybody is right. It does not have AI. It's a very simple two-sided encrypted, a channel that is, encrypted and decrypted on two sides with a security layer in it. So it's got no AI. All right. Encryption and decryption don't count as AI. Let's go to the next one. All right, so this is an example of a product which has not got AI. All right, now this is a Tesla self-driving car. This is the last example. After that, we'll get into some more depth. All right, so a Tesla self-driving car, you wouldn't have seen it in India, but if you had the chance to go to the US, you would have seen some of these driving around. Do you think a self-driving car has artificial intelligence in it? Yes, that's correct. Now, the in the case of Tesla, the interesting part is they use a whole series of AIs. All right, so they use machine learning. They also use something called as computer vision. Computer vision is basically the technology that helps you identify objects. So you, whenever you're going, whenever you're perceiving data, if you can identify an object, that ability is called computer vision. And then after you identify the object, you automate certain actions. That would be, if you're automating certain actions, that would come under machine learning, right? So that's another example of a product that has AI. Now, let me ask you one more last question. All right. Do you think a product like Siri or Alexa is AI? Do you think it is generative AI? So this is not a true or false question, right? Do you think that Siri or Alexa, these products, are AI? Yes, if they're AI, are they generative AI, or do you think they're non-generative AI? So if one or two of you can give that a shot, the part that they are in AI is obvious, right? Are they generative AI? Do you think they have Gen AI component in it, or do you think they are not really generative AI? They are voice to text kind of an AI. Now the answer with on Siri and Alexa is a bit of a debate. If you look at some of these Reddit blogs and all, but most people, most of the AI, engineers would argue that Siri and Alexa are rule-based voice-to-text systems, right? They have a component of natural language processing, so which is fine. But while they are AI, they are not generative AI. Now, the reason a lot of people argue that they are not, and this is an argument, it's a debate in the world of tech because it depends on how you want to look at it. Why they argue that it is not generative AI is that they say that generative AI by rule should be able to give you multiple outputs based on minor changes to the input. There has to be creativity inbuilt into it, which Alexa and Siri, they work like voice assistants, which are based on voice commands. So it's more of a voice to text. So the debate is that these are not really generative AIs, although they do have AI components in them. So from that sense, they do have AI. So Tesla has AI in it. Sophie the robot has AI in it. Netflix we discussed in detail, that has AI in it. What we can do next is very quickly finish up the theory. I'll be then moving to a little bit of fun in terms of what generative AI is. Oh, so there's Alexa. We discussed Alexa. Uh, let's go to the next slide. Now, I want us to just very quickly understand the last part of theory for today. We'll be doing a little more theory tomorrow. But for today, this is, I think, good enough for us to finish off with, right? What I've done here is I've said that artificial intelligence, let's look at the classification of various types of AIs. Now, AI is a anybody who tells you they are good at AI or they know AI or they're experts of AI is lying to you. They're bullshitting because it's a very vast field. It's very difficult to understand AI. Not only is it very vast, it's actually moving very fast. It's a very fast moving field. So it's so dynamic that it is impossible for anybody unless you are absolutely at the cutting edge in, if you're working for OpenAI, if you're Sam Altman's right hand man, or even Sam Altman himself confessed that it's very difficult to keep up because there are people like Ben Gertzel out there. There's of course Elon Musk and all of those guys. So AI is a very fast moving field, but it's important to understand the high level classification of the various different types of artificial intelligence, right? Now there's machine learning, which is where all the action started somewhere around 2000. It actually started long before that, but somewhere around 2010 is where it started really picking up. And computer vision, I explained to you how computer vision has applications in automate self-driving cars, etc. And it has applications of object recognition. For example, if you update your bank statement in certain bank apps today, even if the bank statement is on PDF or an image, they will be able to recognize the numbers and they'll be able to figure out what your salary is, etc. So an AI is a system that can perform these kinds of fairly complex tasks, which earlier needed text-based input, right? You needed very, very overly structured input. Now you have ability to take unstructured data, label it, supervise it, and those kinds of capabilities have been built over time. So machine learning and computer vision is where some of the action began. Automation is a very simple kind of AI where you basically automate certain tasks. Now, a lot of product managers uh, would be doing certain types of automation. I'm assuming you would already have, if you're in working in the world of product, you would have already automated using Zapier, where the moment you receive, let's say, an inquiry from a customer, automatically there is an SMS that goes out or WhatsApp that goes out along with an email with a link. So all the fancy stuff where you can actually get one system to control a series of actions. And we did automation when I was at shadi.com, for example, where earlier we used to have about 120 people sitting and processing photographs, because shadi.com is all about profile photos, right? As you would guess, right? So you had to come to the platform, upload your picture, then it would take 24 hours, for your photo to be verified. It should not be Shah Rukh Khan's picture. Sorry? Yeah, the numbers mentioned beside, good question, Atanu. I'm glad you asked that. These are actually the types within neural networks. We will quickly cover a few of these types. So within neural networks, there's CNN, there's ANN, those types. So there are 6 of them. Within supervised, there are 2. Within unsupervised, there are 2. So those are just numbers. I don't want to overcomplicate. For now, I'm just keeping a high level. I'll go to those numbers later. But that actually opens up. That's actually a mind map. What you're seeing on your screen right now is what a lot of product managers, if you're using Whimsical or Mira, it has been generated using Whimsical or Mira. These are mind maps that have been created. So it just helps you organize. It helps you organize your thinking. It helps you organize or classify your data. All right. One thing to remember, guys, this is a classification that has been done to keep things simple. Please understand, however, in the real world, when you actually start working on AI, you'll find there's a lot of overlap between machine learning and computer vision. So the actual world is more of a Venn diagram. But for the purposes of simplicity, and because we're starting this session with a lot of people who are working at a basic level, I have kept it unexpanded and I've kept it simple. All right, yes, Randhava has answered it correctly. It shows the number of sub items. So don't worry about the number of sub items. Let's keep it for now. Let's keep it at these levels, right? So AI on the left hand side is where a lot of the recent action has happened. So it is my left. Now, machine learning, computer vision, automation are the 3 broad categories. Now, on the other side is where the action ticked off, right? So natural language processing is where a lot of the real recent action has kind of taken off. Now, let me again tell you, natural language processing, while I have kept it on that side, on a separate side, it actually has a lot of components of reinforcement learning and computer vision. So there is a certain amount of that also in it. But for the purposes of our conversation, I've kept it outside in a separate category because it is taking what we call narrow intelligence and trying to make it more general intelligence. Now, again, I want you to know this theory, right? What is narrow intelligence? Artificial narrow intelligence means when you give your system a certain set of inputs, it has a certain set of close set deterministic outputs that it can create. So again, it's a complicated sounding definition, but it's a very simple thing. So you're giving it inputs and it has a certain set of finite deterministic outputs that it can do. A narrow intelligence system has that one characteristic, and a narrow intelligence system has a second thing, that it cannot really do multi-step intelligent tasks. For example, if you ask an AI today to write a poetry and after that go and clear my email, and then after that go and start a song, that AI will not be able to do it. It might be able to write a poetry. you have generative AI on the natural language processing side, which will be able to write a poetry, but it will not be able to go and clear my email. I will not be able to go check my email and then ask Alexa to start, start a song. We are not too far away from that, but as of right now, we don't have the interoperability between these AI systems. These are all AI systems which are out there. Mankind has still not created an interoperable system. There's work happening on that at the cutting edge of technology in California, but eventually that will happen. So right now we cannot have multi-step general purpose AI. General purpose AI is somewhat similar to human beings, right? But with the start of natural language processing, we are headed in that direction. Sakshi, let's go to the next slide, and I will expand on these slides in the later part of the session. Right now, I've come to the left-hand side of the artificial intelligence, where I've expanded fully, guys. So now, if you are very curious about, please expand. I'm expanding this side because that is more relevant to the topic of discussion today, which is on the generative side. Okay. Now, in the natural language processing side of AI, I have let go of the right side. If you remember in the previous map, in the previous mind map, you had machine learning, you had automation and knowledge systems, and you had a computer vision. So I've said, let that go. Let's now focus on this side. Now, on this side, you will see that natural language processing has generative AI, it has recognition AI, it has analysis AI, and it has translation AI. Now, these are the different types of AI systems, AI classifications that it has, right? Now, the part again that has really shaken up the world is the first one on that list, the generative AI, which is both text-based generative AI, or they're called text gen large language models, and image gen large language models. If you go further into the subpart of text gen large language models, you'll see GPT right there, which I'm sure even the chartwala keeps telling me that there is a GPT out there. So I'm sure all of you have heard it. You know that GPT has upgraded to GPT-4. There's another very good, compelling product done by Anthropic called Claude. Claude is something we will work today. We will work on Claude hopefully today, where I'll do a little case study with you guys. Okay, so GPT, Claude, Bard is the product by Google. Google started off with Bard. They've moved, now they've called it Gemini. So Gemini is another product. Again, it is a text-based large language model. These do have the ability to produce non-text based output, but largely the assumption is that the input will be text based. However, now what has also happened is at the very end of this generative AI, if you look at this one, the last one here, multimodal. So you have text gen, you have speech gen, you have video gen, and you have multimodal gen. That is also now beginning to take off. So you'll have a lot of generative AIs on the natural language processing side, where you can give half an input on text, you can give some of the input on video, you can give some of the input using a PDF document. We will do some of that today, right? So we will study some of that today. Now, one thing I want everybody here who is either a product manager or aspiring to be a product manager, or in the space of product management, looking at or working in a tech company, um, it is absolutely important to upgrade yourself to understand how generative AI works in today's world. It is impossible for you to, it will be impossible for you to compete. And this is, I'm not saying this to create any question mark in your mind. It is just that you would have to, you are in a world where you would have to upskill specifically at least the generative AI part of your repertoire. So your portfolio should necessarily know how to deal with generative AI products. Today, you've already 400 of you have already taken a good step by coming for a workshop, trying to get an idea of how to go about dealing with generative AI. I think if you continue on this path and do a little more diligence, do a little more practice, I'll give you some practice today, practice questions today. If you do that, you will find yourself getting more and more comfortable. Getting comfortable with generative AI is absolutely important for product managers today. I will explain that as we go along. So I just want to take a pause there. Then there is, of course, speech recognition. Now, speech recognition is different from speech generation or text generation. Okay, so if you look at the upper part of the natural language processing AIs, all right, so if you look at the upper part, they're generating something, whereas these are actually voice assistants which are recognizing something. They're recognizing something or they're understanding something. They're not necessarily generating a very creative output. So they don't create a, like for example, we discussed Alexa in the true or false part of this workshop earlier. Alexa does not generate something creative. It has a rule-based voice command. So you tell it something, say, please play a song by Rihanna, and it will go and find a song by Rihanna, and it will play the song by Rihanna with a small prompt message, which is kind of pre-coded in the system. So it is not a generative system. It is a recognition system. It is a translation system. Similarly, with sentiment analysis systems are also very popular. In fact, a lot of companies are now putting their call centers on sentiment analysis products. A lot of these products are out there. Bear with me, I've gone dry on my throat. So sentiment analysis is again not a generative AI, although it is on the natural language processing side. So if you think about this world of AI, on this side, all those types of AIs are there which process language in different ways. The most exciting kind of AIs are those which are generating human-like output, which is human-like. Like, for example, they will tell you, or they'll write a poetry, they'll write a PRD document, they could write an analysis, etc. So this is on the left side, they do generative human-like output, but they also there are some lesser types of AI in natural language processing, which also just simply do speech recognition, sentiment analysis, or translation. Google Translate is a very good example, right? So it's not a generative AI. It takes something that you speak to it, let's say in Hindi or Kannada or Marathi or whatever. If you speak in that language, it will give you the output in, let's say, English or French or whatever. So, but it is pretty much a natural language system, which has got rules kind of in it, where it can make out, okay, for this word, it's this. The upper part is creative in nature, and that's what makes it crazy. That's why a lot of people are saying that we will move away from, why, all these scary stories like the video in the beginning. All the theory is now done. After the theory, what I'm going to now do is I'm going to actually do a little bit of practice with you. So I'm going to take up a product case. Now, if you remember, I started this session by saying I am a classical product manager. I believe that classical product management is both alive and kicking. So the job of a classical product management person is no longer a vanilla job. It is a turbocharged job, but it's still a product job. Now, why I say that is the first principle of product management continues to remain the fact that you have to find and identify the right problem, and then you have to solve it correctly. So that you always keep that framework in mind. If you keep that framework in mind, you will always be let me put it correctly, you'll always be a classical, well-rounded, focused product manager. You don't want to get too excited by the tools. Again, so before I move into the tools, I've done these kind of sessions sometimes, and frankly, I get worried because a lot of the young people will straight away jump into the tools. And while you should do it at some stage, first understand how to use these tools. These are powerful tools which you want to use. All right. Now, broadly, I want to again recap very quickly. We are finishing theory. We're going to practicals. But in theory, what are the two, three things? One is, not everything is AI. AI is a tool which is going to be used to do problem solving. Generative AI is the most exciting of the AIs. Why? Because it has the ability to give you creative output based on finite input. There are other types of AIs. All AIs don't have the ability for now to have interoperability. The day that happens, we will achieve singularity. There are companies working on that. There's a company called Neuralink. There's a bunch of companies doing R&D. Neuralink is, of course, taking it to the next level. You know what Neuralink is doing? What the kind of AI they want to create is, they're saying that we want to take away the inefficiency of the human thumb, because the human thumb is how you interact today with the computer. You are interacting with systems and technology today through an interface of the thumb. And what Neuralink is saying is that it's a very inefficient, low bandwidth uh, way of interfacing with computers. The low bandwidth is the problem, because you are currently limited by the number of times you can type ABCD into your mobile. So they're trying to solve that problem, saying we want streams of data from your brain to and your neural systems, from your human biological neural systems, to go into technological systems, thereby merging and creating some kind of a cyborg like environment. They're trying those experiments. But I wanted you to know where AI is headed. Coming back to where we are right now, it's thanks to this kind of generative AI technology that you can be better product managers, right? All right. Now, I'll give you some very quick facts. We won't waste too much time, but I want you to know it took Chat GPT, which is one of the most popular mainstream, and we'll be looking at GPT also. right? It took ChatGPT 2 months to achieve 100 million users. You know how much time it took Uber? It took Uber 70 months. It took, so if you look at that graph, the amount of time it took to achieve 100 million users. 100 million users is almost like two times the size of United Kingdom, right? Two big, large countries. All right. So roughly twice the size of UK. Now I'm saying it took Uber 70 months. What is 70 months? Roughly 6 years to achieve that state, to get 100 million users. It took Spotify and Telegram 55 and 61 months. It took your favorite, I'm sure for many of you, it's the favorite, right? Instagram, right? So it took Instagram also 30 months. It took TikTok 9 months, and it took ChatGPT 2 months. Now, why this is an important thing to understand is that's the rate at which adoption of AI is happening. And we all, including myself as a student, we all are in that race. It is important to keep up with that race. So you have to be on GPT, guys. You have to be putting in intelligent prompts into the GPT system to be able to get good output. You have to be used to this new form of working life. All right, because as you get into working senior level working professional roles, your expectations now are way more. Let's say, you're expected to now give way more higher quality output with way less time at hand, right? So now I'm saying way, it's literally in order magnitude of 10 to the power 6, 8, because systems have been created. And this is a very good example of, in product world, what we call product market fit, right? Very quick product market fit as far as ChatGPT is concerned. A lot of people buying the $20 product. You don't have to, you can do it for free also. You don't have to buy the $20 upgraded version. Today, I'll show you a little bit from the $20 upgraded version of ChatGPT, but you don't have to buy it. You can get started with the free version also. All right, let's go to the next one, Sakshi. Deepak, I'll take your questions at the end, Raja. I promise I will. All right. GPT stands for nothing but generative. We've discussed the word generative. It has the ability or the program to create new text. So it is generative pre-trained transformer. Okay, again, this theory is important just so that you know what you are getting into today in today's session. Generative pre-trained transformer is nothing but something. Transformer is actually a structure which exists in the program. So don't worry too much about the transformer thing. And don't, I mean, you might get confused with the hardware transformer. Think of it like a hardware transformer, but in a software world. All right. Pre-trained is when a program has already been trained by large amounts of data. Now, this is important. GPT's most recent versions are pre-trained till, I think, if I'm not wrong, September 2023. So if you ask GPT who has won the United States elections last week, it may not be able to answer it correctly unless it does a search, a real-time search. It has that ability, but GPT itself will not be able to do the give the answer. It's a pre-trained transformer. But the beauty of it is it has been pre-trained with lots and lots of data. Just go to the next slide, Sakshi. Again, these are important things they should know, because when we go into advanced AI, we will have to know what these things are, right? So a GPT has been trained on 410 billion tokens. Now, tokens, a token is basically similar to an English word. Similar. It's not exactly an English word. It has been, English words have been cut into different sizes, but largely you can think of it as words for now, for today's session. Don't overthink it. But 410 billion words, and this has been done through a common crawl across the internet. So it has crawled the entire internet. It has studied what the various things are happening on the internet, answers, questions, blogs, articles, videos, all of that. And it has crawled it, and it has tried to make some sense out of it, and it is creating a probabilistic output based on that. Now, in the last part of today's first session of the workshop, Rumit will come in and he will explain to you how this actually works a little bit mechanically. So he will talk about it a little bit, so that you get a context of how these things work. But it has been trained on Common Crawl, web text, Wikipedia, books and books. Now, books and books are, these are collections of high quality books by scholars, etc. So they've put those also, and they've given it about 16% weightage. So that is the training that has been done on this system. It took a lot of computational power to train these systems. So it took them years to train the system to go through all of this data. All right. Yeah, I think let's go into practice. I hope we're done with theory. Right. Time for a case study. How perplexity differs. Lovely question from ChatGPT. Randava, good question. Why PM is dead is such a hot topic right now? I think Saurabh, I'll very
Hello.
quickly answer both the questions and then we'll go into the
Uh,
case study. Now let's talk about Perplexity. Perplexity is a Microsoft product which has been designed, which has been trained with a specific focus on doing research. We will be using Perplexity today, so you will see it in action. Right? It gives it is, I would not like somebody has answered that it gives more reliable answers. Both are equally reliable and both are equally unreliable. See, understand, with generative AI, we are still not in a place where all answers are absolutely accurate, which is why I said that even with web search, sometimes it will give you inaccurate results. Now, the important part for you to understand is Perplexity has been designed by Microsoft for the use case related to for a use case related to research. So if you want to do research, which is what we will be doing today, you will find that Perplexity is a good idea. You can use it for research. Chat GPT is a little bit more general. So it's a general purpose GPT. It can also be used for research. So what we will do is we will make them both compete today. So when we look at it, we will make them both compete today. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's choose our product manager for today. This is just to get started with how, how do we know which LLM tool we need to select? Yes, so you will have to do your research. What I am going to do today is that I am going to ask you to make sure that, what tools I am recommending, you try them out. Now, there are about 15, 18 tools out there in the market which are very, very popular. How to know which one is to be used? I would make few recommendations. You would do your own research and you'll come to the answer. But there are 3, 4 which are very, very popular. So guys, I'll stop taking your questions now. Let me first see how many of you want to choose Hermione Granger versus Tyrion Lannister as a AI product manager. Okay. I can see a lot of people say Tyrion, and I can see quite a few in the beginning had said Hermione Granger also. Let me see what GPT says, right? Right. So I'm asking GPT, Tyrion Lannister, Hermione Granger, please give 60% weightage to reach and popularity. Oh, no, sorry, I said product, right? To product skills and give me 40% weightage to popularity. Let's see what GPT says. 60% and product skills and 40% thing. Tyrion Lannister is the better one. All right. But I am going to choose Hermione Granger today because simply because I want to go with a more popular one. Let me revert it. Okay. If I were to use the more popular one, see, this is the beauty of AI. And I'll tell you why I'm forcing to use Hermione later. If I were to use a more popular one, popularity is the primary focus. Hermione would be the best. Okay, so now I did a little bit of what I said I won't do, which is I did backward simulation, right? Because I had already decided for my future slides, I'd already decided that Hermione is someone I will be using. So I've forced him to give me Hermione as the answer. But it's quite evident that the moment I make product skills the primary focus, if I make product skills the primary focus, it seems that Tyrion Lannister becomes the preferred person. If I make popularity the primary focus, that in that case it becomes Hermione Granger. All right, now let's talk about a product problem, guys. Okay, all right, and I've chosen, because of popularity and not because of product skills, guys, I've chosen Hermione Granger. I force fitted it. Now, as we use GPT, that's the beauty of it, because with GPT you will find a lot of the times the answers are very creative, the answers are very different. So every time I do it, it gives me something new if I put something different in the context. All right, now as far as the role of a product manager in the world of GPT is concerned, you're still going to be doing the same 4 things. I've mentioned it. You're going to be doing discovery, problem definition, solution development, solution delivery. So the first two are on the problem side. They're on the problem space where you discover what the problem is. And on the next two are on the solution side. Now let's go straight into the case. Okay. Now, before I go into the case, I want to also mention Normally, it takes 21 days for two product managers to do problem discovery. I'll explain what all a typical product manager do. It takes about 21 days to do problem discovery and problem definition, another 7 days for two product managers. So it takes about a month. Now with GPT, the same two product managers should be able to, these are estimates given by OpenAI. They believe that it should be able to be, even a fairly complex problem, you should be able to do in 5 days and 2 days each. So you basically saying 28 days of two product managers who were doing problem discovery and definition has now reduced to 7, 1/4. Okay, that also is for the more complex cases. Now, problem development and delivery used to take 60 days for two product managers, typically along with the designer and an engineering team. So the problem solutioning side of it has now reduced to 21 days for two product managers. Again, it has kind of become 1/3. All right. Now, this is an important note because there are two things here. Are the number of product managers in the market going to reduce? Most estimates are that they're only going to go up, but they're going to do a lot more work much faster. So it is the speed at which the output, because it's a high output kind of a high leverage kind of a job. The speed at which the output that was earlier coming, let's say in about a 1 month or a 3 month period, is now going to come in a 1 month period. So this is just a data point which we get from OpenAI. Of course, it depends on the problem. Now, let's take a problem statement, right? Harish, I'm just reading out this problem statement. I'll put it on full zoom so that all of you can see it. And then let's see how we can use generative AI to try to solve this problem statement. Again, I'm requesting, do not jump to it. You just stay with me so that I can do it with you. And I'll be learning with you in the sense that I'll be trying to figure out how to solve it with you. Okay. Microsoft Team. Okay, good. Now, Harish is a 25-year-old gentleman. He lives in Bangalore. He started his career as a sales analyst. He's looking for a meaningful relationship, but he has been too shy to make any progress with a partner since college. He wants to start dating, but he hasn't found a date for 1 year. Hermione is your AI product manager. I told you I had to force fit her, so my bad. But whether you want it to be Hermione or Tyrion, they observed that this is a big problem with most of our college batchmates, which means only 9% of our college batchmates have found a match. 1% of the boys in our graduation class have found a match. Only 1% of the boys and 17% of the girls in our class have found someone. Hermione needs somebody, needs to help all her friends, just like Harish. Harish is, of course, affectionately Harry, to find a date, right? And a date who he vibes with and his family finds acceptable. So he's looking for a serious date, not just some casual relationship. He's looking at a serious date. Hermione is a product manager who sees this as an opportunity to solve a good problem and also build a monetizable platform. So what we're going to do in this workshop between now till day tomorrow is we're going to work on trying to build a dating website using generative AI. Going to do a dating website for Bangalore, India, global market. And yes, indeed, we are going to have some fun building it from end to end. Now, we will not be able to deploy the code and make the website live, because for that you need a lot more technical environment, but we should be almost there, right? So as a product manager, if we can do a little bit of practical work, we will almost there. I mean, that's the reason I took this question also, because it'll be a little bit of fun. It's a light-hearted question. It's a problem that this age group will also, I think, identify with. So a lot of you people are in that age group, or very recently married, or some of you would have, just graduated. So whatever your age group, I'm hoping that this is something that you will be able to relate with. It's a complex problem. Please understand. I want to take a step back and I want to tell you one thing. Dating products are very complex products to solve. It looks or it sounds very easy that you need to bring boys and girls on a platform, but a Netflix I'll give you the example of a recommendation system which we've very theoretically studied earlier. A Netflix recommendation system, it is a one-sided recommendation system, which means you have to worry about only one person who's seeing the inventory. If he likes a movie, he clicks on it and he's happy and he starts watching the movie. a, a dating recommendation system is a two-sided recommendation system. What I mean by a two-sided recommendation system is, not only should the person seeing the results like it, the person who's being seen should also like it. So not only should the boy see good matching girls, the girls should be matched by good guys. And that makes it a very complex problem, because unlike Netflix, the content in this case has a life. And the content will not like it if you start sending interest chats, etc., which happens with a lot of girls, right? In the world of dating, you will find one big problem is that the girls get a lot of crazy number of chats. They get it on the Instagram, they get it on Facebook, they get it on Tinder, whereas the guys, they get nothing. So this is a very typical problem to solve. It's a two-sided recommendation problem to solve. And in this case, Harish, poor fellow, has been looking for a match, but he's not been able to. Very identified. I can relate with it so much because I remember being in that state for a while. All right. So what we're basically going to do, I'm assuming you can see my screen and you can't see me, right? You can't see me now, right now. Okay, good. That's fine. What we're basically going to do is we're going to crack the dating market. Now, in order to crack the dating market, whether it's Bangalore, India, or the world, where do you want to start? Where do you think a good product manager should start? Don't run to GPT yet. First, tell me. Again, Sakshi, you'll have to read out. Arpita, Chitesh, you'll have to read out a few answers because I'm now going to be blind. Okay. Please tell me what would be a good place for a good product manager to start. You can put your answers on chat. I want to see how would you go about finding a solution to this problem. All right. Any answers? Where should we start? All right. 1% of the boys and 17% of the girls are finding a match. Identify target audience. Good answer. Yes. You start with the customer. You do market research. Correct. But first thing is you start with the customer. All right. So what I am going to do is, in order to start with the customer, I will now use a tool called Kaggle. Okay, you can note this down. Do not touch your laptops. Just note this down. Kaggle is a popular tool where you can get all kinds of data, which is free. Freely uploaded. It's a free kind of a public library where sometimes the data is not absolutely accurate, but they kind of upload data. Now let me look at Kaggle and see whether I can find Tinder, which is an obvious competitor for my market research. Tinder customer reviews. Any data can I find relating to Tinder customer reviews? Uh, you can see my screen right now, right? So I'm going to kaggle.com. This is kaggle.com. I'm going to a section called data sets. Okay. Now in data sets, why I'm going to data? I want to find customer related data. I want to see what are people saying about Tinder. Okay. So I'm going to go to data sets and I'm going to type in Tinder. Tinder customer. There we are. So I'm not surprised. Google Play Store reviews. So somebody has, kind of uploaded the Google Play Store reviews of Tinder. Okay. So let me now take this data. I'm going to say download and download this data from Kaggle. You guys are with me? All good? Okay, because this is going to be the slightly more cumbersome part of it. But if you cooperate, we should be able to get some interesting insights. All right, now I've downloaded data from Kaggle's Google Play Store data about Tinder. And there we are. This is downloading now. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take this data set and give it to GPT. I'm also going to give it to another tool called Anthropic's tool, which is, what was the name? Yeah, I'm going to give it to Humata, GPT, Claude, and I'm going to see what they say. Okay, Humata is another tool. So you can, if you want on your notebooks, you can write down these tool names. People were asking, right, how to find out which LLM to use. I'm giving you a few tools today. Please first download, mute yourself, guys. Yeah. Please first download the data from Kaggle. Whatever data you get about competitors, you can download. So I've downloaded Tinder's data. I've now going to the zip file and I'm going to mute yourself, guys. All right. So I've downloaded Tinder's Google review data. And now what I will do is I will upload it to one of my generative AI systems. All right. So I'm going to Claude. This is again claude.com. Don't worry, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Okay. This is again, I've gone to Claude and I am going to upload. You see this attachment button? I'm going to upload some data from Tinder. So this is the data that I downloaded, Play Store reviews, and I've uploaded it now to Claude. I'll do the same thing. So please, you can take notes in a notebook of what steps I took. I went to Kaggle because I wanted to find out what my competitors, what people are talking about my competitors. I went to Kaggle, I downloaded Tinder's Google Play Store review data. I downloaded it into a CSV format. And now I'm saying, hi, can you analyze this? For now, I'll just keep a very basic prompt. Can you analyze this data? Okay. Meanwhile, I'll also go to GPT, this one, and I will analyze the same data on GPT and see what happens. All right. On GPT, I think 4.0 is the most preferred one. GPT fails a lot with data, guys. So you will find there are going to be chances that when I upload it, GPT might even fail, but don't worry. I'll have to do a few iterations and then it will work. So this is Tinder's Google Play Store data, which I've downloaded from Kaggle. And then I'm saying, hi, can you analyze this data? Hi, can you analyze these customer reviews? Analyze these reviews. Uh, there we go. Now I'm also going to use what somebody earlier said, perplexity. Okay, see this GPT has actually accepted my data, which is quite different. I was trying it last evening as a practice for this session and it was struggling. See, it's struggling. It seems the file has encoding issues. Data says, oh, finally it uploaded it. So this is what GPT has done. It has uploaded the data. It can actually read my data. All right. How would you like to analyze this data? Sentiment analysis, distribution of ratings. Please do it all. I'm going to write a very dumb command. Please do it all. This is GPT's. I've put a sheet full of Google Play Store reviews and I've told, please analyze the whole thing. Please do a sentiment analysis. Please do distribution of ratings. It's going to take time. Meanwhile, I'll go to Claude. I'll ask Claude the same thing, right? Can you, okay. See, Claude is slower, processing it all, stand by. Can you see what Claude is saying? It's still taking time. It's a lot of data. And therefore, I'll also go to Perplexity. Perplexity, again, I've gone to perplexity.com. This is not very complicated, guys. When you go to these platforms, it's very simple. Just say new thread or new question. So I've gone to perplexity.com and I've opened a new thread. Okay. And I'm going to now attach over here Tinder's data. Tinder Google Play Store review.csv. Okay. And let that also upload. Hi, can you analyze this data? All right. Now this has a pro option. In my case, I've got a pro version. So I've put pro on, but you can do it without pro also. Pro definitely gives 2 to 3x better answers. So I thought for today's session, I'll purchase pro. All right. So now I have 3 of my generative AI systems which are competing to give me my research, as opposed to me sitting and doing it. I would have taken 7 days, 15 days, 20 days, God knows how much time. But I have now instead 3 of them sitting and doing it for me. All right. I've analyzed. This is what GPT is saying. I've analyzed the reviews, sentiment analysis, a histogram of sentiment polarity shows general emotional tone of reviews, positive this thing, ratings. Okay. Oh, look, these are the results. All right. So the sentiment analysis is largely neutral. There's a lot of negative. Okay. Distribution of ratings, most of them is 1. So sentiment is sounding neutral. So what people are writing is neutral, but actually the ratings are very bad for Tinder. All right. So obviously people who have used Tinder here would probably be able to relate to it. 1, everybody is rating it 1. There's a few people who are obviously very happy in life with Tinder. They've got 5, and 2, 3, and 4. There's not too much. So distribution of ratings is pretty skewed. Some people are very happy, which is the nature of dating. Actually, it's the nature of dating. Some people are very happy. Some people are very, very unhappy. All right. What happened to this guy? Didn't attach, is it? Let me try and attaching it again. The Play Store reviews. All right. Can you analyze this data for me? All right. Very simple question that I've asked it. Perplexity should be able to. There we are. There we are. Okay. Now, Perplexity, like I said, is more of a. I kind of started liking Perplexity. Again, I don't want to make comments so early because this is all still. It's a race. It's all still in the air. You don't know which AI will become better tomorrow. They keep making releases. Okay, so these are things that you have to take like a student. All right, I'm not a master who's going to tell you, oh, this is the one solution to all. Please understand this is the nature of the game right now. But Perplexity is also given a similar analysis. It says 1 star is the most common rating. So that way, both are saying the same thing. Perplexity is saying 1 star is the most common rating. 5 stars is the second most common rating. 2, 3, 4 are very less frequent. Exactly what we saw in ChatGPT. All right. Sentiment, it says, however, is more negative. Now, Perplexity has got a more negative read of it. In that case, in our histogram, we had a more neutral read of it. Here it has a more negative read of it. Common themes. See, now Perplexity is giving you better answers. Perplexity is saying analyzing the most frequent words, the common themes are app functionality is a problem, personal experience. Words such as I indicate that often users share personal experience, positive aspects are there. Now, key observations, user engagement, the average thumbs up count is 3.47 with a high standard deviation of 40. Version specific issues, presence of some version is wrong. The analysis reveals that Tinder's Google Play app has a predominantly negative reception. What are the key complaints? Let me just ask them, what are the key complaints? What are the most important complaints? Why so negative? Yeah. Let me see what my friend in Claude is up to. Oh, it has a length limit issue. Right. Conversation is this thing over the length limit. Try replacing with another file. Let me see if I can do that. That way, Claude gives good answers, but it struggles with length limits. Let me see if I can give it a different file. I had already downloaded this one. Help me analyze this data. Meanwhile, I'm coming back to synthesis. Okay. All right. Now, in synthesis, analyze the provided CSV to identify the most important complaints. It's still figuring it out. Let's wait for it. Let's go to GPT. All right. Analyze trends and thumbs up. Can you identify common app issues? Okay. So I'm asking it, can you identify the common app issues? It's saying that it's prompting me that I can probably identify that. So let's see what the common app issues are. Again, very average answer. I'm not very happy with the answer. If you look at GPT's answers, quality of the answer is not that much fun. Can you summarize user complaint trends? So it's talking about some error in the app, slowness of the app, bugs, etc. It's talking about blocked in payment, but look at the quality of the analysis, not very good. All right, I want to see what synthesis comes up with.
Perplexity, you mean, right?
I keep saying that. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, see the key complaint themes. Key complaint themes are authenticity issues. The high frequency of complaints about fake profiles of accounts indicates that users are concerned about the genuineness of potential. Wow, this is a very good insight. This actually you would have experienced if you've ever used any of these dating platforms. Even at Shadi, when we were working on Shadi, a lot of people used to think that this platform is only fake. All the profiles are fake. It's all nonsense. And actually, there is a reason for that. We can discuss that later. But authenticity issues is the number one complaint theme, which is fantastic. Monetization concerns. See, technical issues I'll ignore because technical issues is more for the tech team, not for the product guys. Value perception. Complaints about the app having a waste of time or waste of money. Oh God. So it has picked up a lot from this, whereas ChatGPT has not. Okay, and therefore I do this in parallel. See, the challenge, guys, when we are doing these kinds of sessions also is that you don't know what these will actually throw back. Sometimes they throw back good answers, sometimes they don't. There is a dynamic nature of it, and that's something that we'll explain tomorrow. Rumit will be explaining that why that happens. It's important to note that these complaints are derived from negative reviews, represent 60% of the reviews to improve user satisfaction. Right. How often do users complain about? So it's giving me more details. How often do people complain about? So this obviously Perplexity is really acing it. Claude has completely let me down. Oh, Claude finally came back with something. I'll help analyze which basic posts and comments, profile reviews, match quality, quantity. Many users, especially men, struggle to get matches. See, they've also figured it out. Claude took them time. I had to give them a smaller file, but they have pretty much figured it out. All right. Conversation screenshots, dating experience, stories about dating. Some people have mentioned stories about dating, etc. The few people have put humor in the reviews. Now, match quality quantity. Many users, especially men, struggle to get matches. Discussion about profile optimization strategies. Oh, how to make your profile better. I know a friend of mine who used to put pictures outside, a background where in order to optimize his profile, that user used to put a background of London and Paris just to fake it to the girls that he's going to all these international locations and he used to get more dates. He actually was successful. Okay, communication issues, ghosting complaints, difficult. So this is also very decent. They've also come up with safety and scam issues. Okay, so some people are writing about safety and scam issues about Tinder, gender dynamics, different experience between men and women. I loved it. Like, it's not a bad answer at all. I was most disappointed with GPT, but between these two, I liked what they've done. All right, so I'll tell you one thing. I'm just copy pasting all this Gyan and very foolishly going to put it into a Word document. Okay, you guys, please stay with me. I know it is choppy at times. Nature of the beast. All right, so I'm putting this in a document and I'm going to dump all my findings in one document. Later on, I'll figure out what to do with it. All right. I've opened a very simple Word document to keep my life simple, and I've just dumped the results from Claude. And I'm also going to dump the results from synthesis. Sorry, I keep calling it Perplexity. All right. Relatives, blah, blah, blah. User trust control. Okay, let me just pick up Perplexity's answer. Here, this one. And again, Perplexity is given exact numbers and all, very decent. That way, it does a lot better. But I was not very happy with this result it gave. Again, I've copy pasted this, put it into a Word document. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do with this Word document later as part of my research. But in many product companies, we call it brain dump. You just create a brain dump and whatever you're collecting from the internet, from video, from this. Now I'm doing one more thing. I had, for the sake of saving time, we have a limited amount of time left. I had also searched dating and arranged marriages before the session. Okay, because I knew I'll be picking dating as a case study. So I'll pick this video now. Are arranged marriages outdated? All right. So because we're obviously not talking about casual dating market, we're talking about the serious dating market. That's what Hermione is trying to help Harry with. All right. So I'm picking this up. All good. Prerit is saying, can we also get matches with ChatGPT? Can you get matches with ChatGPT? I wish life was that simple. Right now, I'm not even getting a proper analysis from ChatGPT. I'm struggling. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this video and let's see if the video, it accepts the video. All right, so I've taken a YouTube video. Can you analyze the video? And for video, guys, if you want to analyze a video, I would recommend doing it with because YouTube is a Google product, you're better off doing with Gemini, which is also a Google product. Now, this is again word of mouth. I have not done any particular research to see that Gemini gives better results or not. But what I've read on the internet from whatever research I've done is that Gemini, because it's a Google product and YouTube is also a Google product, if you want to do research using YouTube videos, so you want to look at a podcast, you want to look at somebody's long document, then you're better off asking this question to Gemini. Gemini used to be called Bard earlier. It's now called Gemini. You'll see it in Google search results also. Okay, the title of this video is this. Can you give me a give me key insights from this video. Okay, so I'm now using another fourth tool called Gemini. Gemini is going to go through the video for me. And here's what it says. Arranged marriage is still common in India. Of course, the topic that I picked was that there are many different types of arranged marriages. This can be successful. It can be also there's hope for arranged marriages. All right, let me put something which is a little more dating, so that it's a little more tongue in cheek. And then let's see whether we can put that into the. Do Indians prefer love or arranged marriage? There's a 16-minute video. I can't, as a product manager, waste my time watching it. So I'll just take the link and I will. Oh, just started. Okay, I'm going to Gemini and I'm putting this also. Please analyze this one. Okay. Now, apart from this kind of research, you will also have to go and do research on actual research documents. So PDF documents. My recommendation when you're doing a PDF document is that you, so I'll just show you how Perplexity is again the most recommended one there. All right. Now Perplexity has come up with some results on arranged marriage, right? The arranged marriage video. Again, I will copy paste this main arguments. All right. And I will put it in my brain dump. Guys, please mute yourself. It's so unfair on the others. Okay. All right. Now, I was wondering whether I can get some data about revenue. So matrimony.com, which is also in a dating and matchmaking space, I will take their revenue figures from their annual statement. Okay. So let me go to Perplexity and create a new thread. And I will say attach. I have downloaded matrimony.com's annual statement and I've attached and I've also downloaded match.com's annual statement. You can get these annual statements when you're doing research as a product manager. You should go through, these kinds of releases. These are, available for listed companies. So if it's a listed company, you'll find it. Hi, can you analyze these two companies and give me their strengths and weaknesses? So you're also doing competitive research and you're analyzing them. All right, now this is again Perplexity. I'll see if Claude can also be put to the task. Again, annual statements of matrimony.com, which is basically Bharat Matrimony and all these matrimony sites that they own. And I've also taken the annual statement for match.com. All right. Matrimony.com, market leadership, 60% market share in India. So again, this is important data for you to know. All right, strong brand recognition, diverse portfolio for various communities. So they've gone about dating and matchmaking in a slightly different way. Financial position, 35 crore is what it is, or 350 crores. So 350 crore, if you look at millions, is 350 crore revenue is what they're doing, which is quite decent. 1 million paid subscription, heavy reliance on the Indian market. Obviously, wedding services segment, they're declining revenue. Now, wedding services is different from dating and matchmaking. So it's a little different. That's more to do with Mehndi and, wedding planning and all of that. So it has given me everything. See, the guys, the point I'm making is instead of going through a 150-page report, you have now got a lot of data here available to you thanks to Perplexity. All right. And you've got similarly with Claude. Claude seems to be struggling with size. Okay. Let me see if I can take only matrimony and upload it. But Claude has always struggled with size. Let me see if it can take match dot this one. Oh, hang on. Let me not take the NASDAQ one because that's again a large doc. I'll take this article which I found about future of dating. FOD means future of dating. It's just it's a 5-page article. I hope Claude allows me to upload it. Claude gives good results normally, which is why I try to use Claude. All right. And then there is Perplexity. Now I have again picked up everything from Perplexity's answer. I've picked up the Play Store, Google Play Store reviews from both Perplexity and Claude, and GPT, frankly, I have ignored. And I've put it all here into this one Word document. Now what I will do is I will try to convert this into a presentable format. Right now I have something called Gamma, Gamma, Gamma app. So I will pick up all this content and I will say, first I will go take this to GPT. Now I'm taking it to a general purpose language model. So I've taken all the content from all these various documents. I uploaded a few Excel sheets, a few PDFs, one YouTube video. I've done all of that with various 2, 3 tools. And now I'm creating a new chat and I'm saying that all of it that I found, I'm just putting it here. Can you help me understand key personas? Can you help me understand key problems, pain points, and personas? Let's see what GPT does. Now, this is where GPT becomes useful. It's a good summarizer. So it can take from multiple sources. Synthesis is very deep, but GPT is very broad. So GPT is actually, it should be able to give me a lot of, so they've got some content from subreddit. Okay, I had uploaded one subreddit file, so it's given me key problems and match quality and quantity, communication issues, safety concerns, gender dynamics, and profile optimization. We kind of read this. Personas struggling. There are some people who are struggling to get a match, male 25 to 35, brilliant. Okay, there are some people who are skeptical veterans, veteran meaning in the sense that they've been looking for a while, they're overwhelmed by attention, they're getting too much attention, but now they're fed up. Newcomer explorer, the younger lads, younger boys and girls, and then burnout, frustrating are 2840. Very nicely put. See, they put 4 very good personas from a product point of view. All right. He's also summarized the arranged marriage debate. Very nicely done. Traditionalist, advocate, modern skeptic. So he's taken multiple sources and he's done that. Now I'm saying, can you convert this into a PPT, into a PPT structure for my senior management? Okay, guys, there's a lot of cheating I'm doing. I know, but that is partly because I have limited time. We would have done a more thorough job, but I want to see for my senior management and CEO. Okay, so I'm presenting to my CEO. I want them to give me some PPT structure. All right, and let's see what this guy gives me. All right, as part of my research. Please. So he's given me 5, I don't know how many slides he's given me. 7, 8, 9 slides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 9 slides. Okay, don't worry, I'll revise everything I've done so that you take away this whole learning session. We started with Kaggle. You remember? We downloaded data from Kaggle. And then we went to Claude, we went to Perplexity, we went to GPT, we tried playing around with what we have just simply blindly uploaded PDFs, YouTubes, everything, and we saw some results. In some cases, GPT was not giving us great results. We ignored that. Now what we've done is we've taken all of that dump, converted into a PPT, and I'm going to take this PPT structure and I'm going to go to a new app called the Gamma app. Now the Gamma app is fairly phenomenal. We're going to use it for product design tomorrow. Okay, but for now, let me use it for PPTs. Okay. So I'm just going to say, so when I go to Gamma app, I go to create, I press the create button. Okay, now I'm saying paste in text. You can also generate research, but I'm not doing that because the quality of the research and the PPT will not be very good. I've used the right tools to do the research, largely Perplexity and Claude. Little bit of I've used GPT. GPT has basically structured it for me. Now I've gone here and I'm going to paste it. Can you make this into a CEO level PPT? Okay. So this is Gamma app. You can do a lot of stuff for free. It has a paid version also, but need not buy it till the time you've developed enough. All right. So it's got 11 slides. Okay. Before I close, I want one more slide. Let me just put one more slide to GPT. I'll say, can you give me a product hypothesis or a hypothesis statement on what will work? by addressing key user pain points, this thing, profile update, user guidance, enhanced safety features, balanced edition, modernity, okay, innovative features and personalization. Okay, it's given me by addressing key user pain points, improving user experience. It's given me a very general answer. I'm not very happy with this. All right, let me say, uh, for the male users, ghosting was a problem, and so a, was the problem of low responses. Forgive my bad grammar today. I'm just trying to be quick. All right. Can you give me a hypothesis that if I solve this, I will be able to develop a game changer product that beats Tinder? Okay, I just want a hypothesis statement from him. All right. So now convert this to a PPT. Convert this to a PPT slide to a max of 3. See how I'm manipulating it? I'm trying to give it a hypothesis and I'm converting it to a PPT slide. All right, so here's a 3-slider problem statement, ghosting, low response rates. Okay, so I picked up 2, 3 problem statements and I said that I'm giving you these problem statements. Tell me how we can create a hypothesis statement. And I've created a hypothesis statement. We're solving the challenges of ghosting and low response rates through innovative engagement features. Balance. So he's given me some general answer. Tomorrow, when we sit on chat PRD, so we'll actually do brainstorming with it. How do you solve ghosting and low response rates? In fact, I want you to think about this problem. Okay, but let me finish this. So I'm going to put 2 more slides, problem statement and this, and see if this guy can give me a PPT. Slide 12. And slide 13. Okay, this is proposed solutions will not be on the slide. It's too much. Just solutions we will discuss using chat PRD for the purpose of brainstorming. That's specialized for that. See, these are specialized tools. All of them have similar underlying structures, but good idea to keep using all of them so that you can best get the best of all. Now see, I've gone to Gamma app. I've entered all of this structure of a PPT into the Gamma app. All right. And I'm saying that I would like you to create a PPT. Now it's giving me options, slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. So it's giving me an option of how it will generate. It says I'll generate only 10 slides for you, which I'm saying, okay, fine, just generate what you can. I'm not going to pay you right now. And we will say continue. All right. It's given me some how many texts, how much text I want, some really crazy stuff. I said I'm okay with medium amount of text. Some people prefer very little text on their PPT. Now let me say generate. Okay, now it's going to generate a PPT. This is the part that really blew my mind because now it'll allow me to select a theme. I'm going to select a professional theme. Okay, for my PPT. You saw what I did, right? I took all my research, dumped it into GPT. After that, I asked GPT to make a PPT structure. I took the PPT structure and I've gone to Gamma app. And on Gamma app, I've picked this, let's say a professional, I've selected professional kind of theme. And let me pick this one. I like this one. Nice and clean. And I'm going to say generate. Let's see how it generates the PPT. All right. Analysis of like this is mind blowing. This actually, this particular product is really capturing. See, it's actually named me also by Pamit Anand. Last edited less than a minute ago. It explores key insights, Tinder subreddit insights, arranged marriage. I've taken a Tinder article, arranged marriage debate, competitive analysis, key problems, pain points. It's taken that entire thing and it is converting it into a beautiful PowerPoint, which I would take at least a week to create, guys. If I have to meet my CEO tomorrow, I can now show him, all right, this is what happens. There's a match quality problem, low matches. There are concerns around algorithm, which is what we discussed, right? Recommendation engine, it has to match both sides. Communication issues, safety and scam. People come and scam people. That's typically about 4 to 5% of the issue in most of these dating platforms, is about 4 to 5%. Gender dynamics, there's imbalanced experience. The girl is overwhelmed with too much, the guy has very little. All right. And then there are certain Tinder personas. Look, they've created personas. All right. Again, of course, this was done by a GPT, but they are actually showing visuals. And this is a beautiful presentation now ready for you. Of course, with the cartoons, you can replace the cartoons after you download the PPT, but this is quite phenomenal.
Please join me in welcoming Rumit here. He has been a speaker at Product Space, and our students love his sessions a lot. I wish I could show, some of the chats that people keep sending after his session, right? So, Rumit, he's the VP of Generative AI Products at Glance. He has also been with Mitro TV, where he was the VP of product. He has been at InVideo as well, where again he was the head of product, and at Republic TV. So, a very, very illustrious career. But Rumit, if there's anything else, that you might want to add, which will help students in connecting with you. Hey,
Hey,
Rumit, I'm not able to.
can you hear me
Hey, I can
now?
see you now. Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey guys, my name's Rumit. I'm currently working with InMobi Glance. I have run about 16 years of WorkX. I have 2 patents filed, both in the generative AI space. When you say filed, you've not got it yet, but yes, we filed for it. Um, I generally don't like doing presentations. What we'll try to do is try to make this a little more simple and interactive rather than doing a session of some sorts. I think Pamit has covered a fair deal in terms of the applications of generative AI, the applications of LLMs, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to quickly start by a couple of things that I noticed in the chat, and I'm going to try to answer those questions. And Pamit was very nice in saying that PMs are not dead. I think there are some kind of PMs that will die. And that's a question that you need to ask yourselves, right? What kind of a PM are you? So if you're a PM who is actually simply coordinating with the design team, getting designs out, uh, if you're just coordinating with the developers to figure out what's going on, yada, 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 you will die, right? If you're just writing PRDs, you will die. Of course, as product managers, you will die. So the product managers that actually, and one person was actually saying that, use these as tools for you to get your work done. I think the underlying statement is that if you use your intelligence, then you're not obsolete, because generative AI has not come to the world yet where it has intelligence. And I'll explain what I mean by intelligence and so on and so forth. But if you guys are in the mood of a conversation, we can do that. Else, we can do this another time as well, because I know it's been 2 hours. So uh, a, a quick check if you guys want to go for it, where I can explain what an LLM is, how does it fundamentally work. I want you guys to make a note of this. In Jan 2024, there is this company called Beta Volt. It's a Chinese startup that announced the development of a nuclear battery that can generate electricity up to 50 years without charging. Right? Um, this is the most important statement that I want you guys to hold on to for the next 15 minutes, at least. Um, did you get that? Beta Volt, a company that is into batteries, has developed a nuclear fission battery that can generate electricity, or rather say, keep your charge for 50 years. Now, why do I say this? Um, we'll come to that later. Okay. But I want you to kind of hold on to this for a minute. How many of you know what is an LLM? And I want some hands up if you have an answer. Anyone? Okay, great. Kuldeep, why don't you go ahead? Yeah, you'll have to be
Yeah,
unmute. Yeah, go for it.
yeah. I, so basically, LLM, like in short, what we can say is like prediction of the next word, according to the.
Exactly. Exactly. Actually, an LLM is dumb, guys. It is not intelligent. It is not imaginative. All counterintuitive to whatever Pamit has shown you so far, right? So there are two statements that I'm going to make, which is it is unintelligent, it is unimaginative, yet intelligent. How does that happen? The LLM is just supposed to predict the next word. Um, does anyone know the difference between a traditional AI and generative AI? If anyone has an answer, I would like to hear. Traditional AI versus generative AI. What is the difference?
Yeah, maybe I can try.
Go for it.
Traditional AI is more like an automation thing, and then generative AI is like which creates something new.
Okay. So let's talk about yes and no. Yes, because you're right. If I have to give an analogy, generative AI versus traditional ML algorithms is traditionally it's when you wanted to train AI, it was like training a robot, right? It's when you train a robot, you give it a bunch of ifs and else conditions and give it local patterns. Whereas generative AI is actually like training a baby. It's actually like training a child. So you train your child patterns. You don't train your child say this word, say that word. If this comes, do this. You kind of train your child with saying, these are the manners that you need to have. But anyways, let's talk about an LLM. LLM in detail, right? First thing, first fact, it's unintelligent, it's unimaginative. Some of the questions that you guys have is that will it replace humans? Will it replace human jobs? Am I in danger? I think a lot of people have asked that question, right? Uh, okay, Dheeraj. Yes, you're right. Um, to simply answer your question, I'll give you an example. Um, there was this friend of mine whose uncle worked at Mahindra and Mahindra, and his job was to make sure that the chassis for the car is kind of put in properly, and then it goes to to the next layer. He did that for 15 years. He just took this, put this, and he had a very decent job, right? um, but what happened is in the bargain is 15 years down the line he was replaced, he was fired, right? um, and those are the kind of people that need to be scared, that if you're just coming in and someone mentioned, right, it'll replace tasks. It'll absolutely replace tasks. Can it replace the human intelligence on how to use these tools? Maybe not today, too early to answer. But I know for a fact that Mr. Altman is working on something that allows, which is called AGI, right? And why is AGI not possible in the today's world is also we'll talk about it. So an LLM has 4 blocks, guys. And I think these are the most important blocks that you guys need to know. Uh, something called as parameters, something called as context window, something called as tokens, and something called as inferencing as a layer, right? These are the 4 building blocks of any LLM. So whatever tool you're using, Copilot, Claude, GPT, so on and so forth, you would realize that they're fundamentally the same, but the application layers are different. What do I mean by that? All of these use these 4 building blocks for them to build an LLM. So it's parameters. If someone can write it down for us, it'll be great. Parameters, context window, tokens, and inferencing. Right. I can go deep in each, and I'll explain uh, in detail what happens where. Okay. As we said, someone said that an LLM is just predicting the next word. That's true. It just predicts the next word. That is called the inferencing layer. An inferencing layer is built of a neural network that has multiple nodes in it. In a network, every node is connected to every node. I don't want to talk about a neural network because it's ancient technology. It is done in the past. Traditional AI algorithms have used it, so on and so forth. But an inferencing layer is basically to say that given an input, it will give you an output, and that predicts the next word. Right? That's what the inferencing layer is. Um, Parameters. We've heard a lot about parameters. For example, GPT first time when GPT-1 launched, it launched with 117 million parameters. How many of you understand parameters, or do you want me to kind of explain that to you? parameters, context window, inferencing, and tokens, right? Um, are boundaries? Actually, not really. They're not boundaries per se. Let's take the same example, right? Of the child, while some of you don't agree, but that's how it is, unfortunately. There are two things that are important in parameters: weights and biases. What are weights? And these are very important terms, guys. You should know this because that's how you will understand the future. Yeah, talk about fine tuning, which is what parameters is, by the way, Vaibhav. Um, Weights are, they control how much influence one part of the input has on the next. So imagine you're training a model to recognize sentence patterns. Weights will help determine which words or phrases matter more for predicting the next word or interpreting a sentence, right? Um, Very simply put, weights are some things that you put as input. So if I take the classic case of a child, if you input, if your input data to the child, if there is a child that has a, you see, there's a saying, right? बच्चों के सामने नहीं लड़ते, सीख जाएंगे. That's true, by the way. So if the input is bad, the child will start doing the same thing. The kids will go and start fighting outside the house, and they'll fight in the same manner, by the way. So it depends on the input data, and those are called weights, right? You kind of give the right input data, which is making sure that um, um, making sure that the data is not noisy. Sometimes labeled data, like Pamit said, right? Sometimes it's labeled data that helps. Sometimes it's not labeled data that helps. You can by itself show patterns. So for example, one of the models that we were training the other day was to make sure that we could create realistic images of a human being. And for that, we downloaded all the photographs in the world and kind of put them as a data set. Right now, for a generic model like that, it's very good. But if you want specific models that says, I want to kind of build a model that has lean photograph of lean males, um, uh, sure, then you will kind of just put that as an input data, right? So those are weights. It's largely about the input data. With me so far, any questions? Did we understand weights? Weights is a function of what you put into the system. Right. So let's say there's a child, I kind of give that child enough input data in the terms of values saying, be good, be nice, yada, 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 so on and so forth, right? What are biases? Biases are
One
the
second, Romit. So input
sorry.
data is that data which helps you train the GPT before the, so the prompt is something that the user gives. The
Prompt is
input
completely different, right? So
prompt
prompt
is
is
complete. That's why I'm
at
trying
the
to clear the
application
confusion.
layer. I'm talking about the fundamentals of how an LLM is built, right? I'm not
Correct.
talking
So
about
this is before it has gone to market. This is
yeah.
pre-market. You are putting input data. You're giving it internet data. You remember I had put some slide over there
Yes.
saying Wikipedia, books, 17 billion documents. All of that becomes part of your input data. Am I correct understanding, Rumit here?
Yes, that's correct. So we'll come to prompting, guys. Prompting is actually fun, but we'll come to prompting. Right now, I'm just showing you how an LLM is built, right? Then the other part, has everyone understood weights? It's the input data that you give to the child when you're training the model, right? Let's talk about biases. Um, so only two things which are parameters in a model. Biases are some things that you add as an at the output layer. So what do you mean by that? I've given values to my child, but my child still goes out and whacks a guy, right? That's when I scold my child and say, this is something you should not do. That's called biases. So I create biases. Of course, the input data is one. So you can play at both layers. And together as a combination is what a parameter is, right? So a combination of the weight and the biases is um, um, is what, yes, a feedback mechanism of some sorts, Dheeraj. Perfectly said. A feedback mechanism. So when you guys are actually typing and saying, hey, GPT, you got it wrong, it actually goes in to the layer for them to understand. So it's used for their training data, and that's why they take a lot of time for themselves to train. But the point being, these are the two things that are made that make parameters, right? Weights and biases. Every model is based on this. So GPT first, in its first version, had 117 million parameters, which means 117 million combinations of some sorts. GPT-2 said 1.5 billion parameters. GPT-3 said 175 billion parameters. GPT-4o says 1.76 trillion parameters. What does this really mean? It just means that it is not growing smarter. It is creating more and more combinations. by the way, how many of you have seen on Android keyboards, there's the next word while you're typing one word, the next word comes? That's actually generative AI locally done. It's called auto suggest. It is actually predicting the next word. It's doing the same thing, right? But a large language model is trained on these large data sets of, like Pamit mentioned, 117 billion documents, yada, 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 so on and so forth, right? So coming back to the point, these are what parameters are. Is everyone clear with what parameters are? Yes, no, maybe. I opened up the chat for you folks. You can say that. Okay. 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 Cool. Yes. So we're all clear. So weights and biases are the most important thing. I think the second part of the topic which I wanted to cover is context window, or I'd rather say context. And this is why AGI and so on and so forth will come to play. If you remember, an LLM is dumb. It just predicts the next word. It is something called as stateless. What do I mean by stateless? It does not have intelligence. It is stateless. It is trained on a certain system. You ask it a question, it will give you an answer. That's about it. It does not like REST API. Perfect, Arnav. Lovely. Like REST APIs, it just does that job. What does that mean actually? And that's why when I think the Altmans of the world and GPTs of the world focused on the inferencing layer a lot. So they trained the data, they got all inferencing in place. They made sure that the inferencing layer, which has all these parameters that are there and so on and so forth. So the inferencing layer is the one that just gives you input output that just predicts the next word. Now, context is the one. There are context is of two types, guys, and this is very important for you to know. There is perennial context, and there is fixed context, or I'd rather say facts about you, right? Sorry, perennial context and rolling context. Perennial context means there are facts about you. Facts about you could be that you're married. It depends on for how long, but you're married, you have children, you're educated, you're working in this company. These are facts about you. Rolling information could be, or rolling context could be, as you can see, there's a birthday party today. That's rolling context, right? There is a birthday party today. There are events that are happening in my life. I'm probably doing my interior, so on and so forth. So those are the two types of contexts. Now, whenever you start having conversations with an LLM, it starts dividing the context in these two parts and it starts saving them, right? Now, and each time you write a query, it appends this entire context in the query. You can't see it. So let's say you write, if you ask an LLM saying, football is my favorite sport, and you run a Python code, you ask an LLM saying, football is my favorite sport, and then you ask it a question saying, what is my favorite sport? It'll say, I don't know that answer, right? But if I add context, which is this layer of perennial and non-perennial context, sorry, I have to cut this call. Okay. Perennial and non-perennial context, or rolling context, as I say, it kind of appends all of this with one query that you make so that it understands what you're saying. And then the inferencing layer gets all the context and it replies back, right? And those contexts are converted into something called as tokens. Clear with me? With me so far? So things about me, inferencing in layman, okay, I can explain in kid analogy. It's the same thing, by the way. So inferencing layer is what? Is to say, like in general occasional events, yeah, but things that are happening in your life, Surya, they're not, I'll explain inferencing again, no problem. Inferencing is essentially the same engine that I spoke about, the child inference that I spoke about, right? There's an input and output, but it's just dumb. It's just predicting the next word basis on the context that is given. So it is not intelligent. It is just a layer that has, inferencing layer has, it has a neural network in it. And I can explain that probably in detail sometime else. But it essentially has, given an input, it gives you an output. These are where the parameters and the parameters are played with, or I'd rather say the weights and biases are played with. The context window is the window that uh, feeds the data into the inferencing layer. The inferencing layer, basis on what the context is, kind of gives you an output. Did I explain it better? Or do you guys still have questions? Inferencing layer's job is just to predict the next word. That's it. Context job is to make sure that you kind of give the context, and that's why context is converted into tokens. Now, what is a token? Token could be just a simple character. Everything is, see, we understand English, we understand Hindi, we understand language, but the computer understands zeros and ones. So everything is broken down into numbers. Every word, the word yes is broken down into numbers. And of course, that has a denotion, that number has a specific denotion to that word or to that character, and those are converted into tokens. Now, if you see, ChatGPT says I can't take more than 8,000 to 12,000 tokens. What does this mean? It just means that how context is treated. Context is generally stored on the client, not stored on the server. Uh, um, Context is to say, how is context feeded? Yeah, every transaction that you're doing with GPT, when you say, hey, how are you, I'm fine, the context is appended in it. It's not shown to you. It's a hidden layer that goes, let's say, in the JSON file. It says this is the one that this is the user, this is the type, this is the user context, perennial context, this context, and it kind of shares with the intrinsic layer. Intrinsic layer sends it back. Now you understand what's the problem here. The problem is this, that the more context that it has, the more difficult it is for the processing power required is so much, right? So that's why LLMs have this limitation of saying I can only take 12,000 tokens, or I'd rather say 12,000 context pieces, which essentially means that AGI is not possible because we are individuals. Correct. Yes. Yes, Arti. You're right. It does. So it converts this into this layer, and this layer kind of then communicates with the inferencing layer, and then there is an output. Um, Essentially, now this is where LLMs are facing a lot of problem. And that's why uh, it requires something called as a GPU. Now, yes, okay, great. A CPU has cores in it, right? So you had these six. You remember those Pentium 4, Pentium 1 processors had these 2-core processor and 4-core processor and so on and so forth, right? Um, a CPU runs. Yes, a GPU is parallel processing. A CPU is linear processing. What does it mean? It means like my slow cousin. Okay. A person who can understand and answer one question at a time. But computers are not like that, right? Or I'd rather say one set of activities at a time. Um, to largely put it, a GPU is hundreds of cores that are put together, and there is parallel processing, right? So less computational time, less, how do I put it? Um, Less computational time, but more power, right? Now, when LLMs launched, of course they required GPUs. The world was out of GPUs. We didn't have GPUs. The world did not have GPUs. What does it really mean? It means that Nvidia got rich. I don't know whether you guys know this or not, but Nvidia stocks went for crazy, right? Because as I rightly said, that GPUs were not available. They started manufacturing GPUs like crazy. But you must understand, coming back to context windows, a GPU will also have its limitations, right? It can only parallel process so much. Let me give you an example of what did it take for GPT 4o. How much electricity did it take? It took, I think, 1,300 what do you say, megawatts per hour, which could power 130 homes in the United States of America for 1 year. And it took $100 million for it to train that model, right? So these are very interesting facts, which essentially means this, right? That there is energy, is electricity is not available, which comes to say that power hungry monster, exactly, Vivek, which essentially means this, right? That the next big thing is going to be energy, and which brings me back to the first statement that I had made. In Jan 2024, there was this company called Beta Volt that is developing nuclear fission energy. Um, and if you guys get a chance and an opportunity to work in an energy startup, don't blink. Just go for it, right? I mean, it might sound away from technology, but that's where it is. Energy is what they're doing. So nuclear fission will be the next big thing. Oh yeah, of course they'll get rich. In fact, the Saudis are actually they're calling it the next oil, because most of the Saudis are kind of investing money there. So and in fact, Sam Altman, if you know. And that's why that's how AGI will be possible, guys, because the context window will become endless if energy becomes endless, right? Um, and that's where the cookie crumbles. So that's why AGI does not exist today, is because your context window is only so much. Now, how of course they have optimized the context window. What do you mean by optimizing the context window? Uh, Context window is to say that, let's say it starts storing information about you, and yeah, solar tidal both could work. Um, but you need nuclear fission, you don't need charging. So that's how the world is working. In context, you have two parts, right? It could store the context, and then after that, let's say your tokens are over, let's say 8,000 tokens are over, what do? GPT by itself kind of further summarizes these context windows into a smaller context. So it creates these chunks of you to say that, okay, works here, does this, is interested in this, and then it starts inferencing at that layer as well, and it reduces the chunks, right? But somewhere or someday, you will kind of hit that what do you say, max capacity of tokens, right? So Claude says that it can take 100,000 tokens, sure, but that also has a limitation, right? So correct. So ceiling is the right word. Sorry. So it is, Arnav, it is actually linked. So there are four layers. The first layer is context. Sorry, thanks for bringing me back. Context is very, very important. Context is basically stored perennial kind of context and rolling kind of context. Perennial context is essentially to say it serves or stores permanent data about you. Rolling context is your moods, your interests, the current context that you're in. Like I said, that it's my child's birthday today and I'm giving a session. It kind of, if I start typing that, it starts storing that information, right? So perennial rolling context could be, it could kind of discard per se, but perennial context it keeps, right? um any questions on context, guys? So we've covered context, we've covered I think parameters, we've covered context is converting into tokens, and we spoke about inferencing. What if quantum computing comes into play in place of GPU? We don't know that, Sushmit. I'll tell you why. Quantum computing has all still requires that amount of energy that is it's just crazy. So quantum computing GPU, I think if you just solve for energy, uh, both, because even each one of these would have their ceiling. So I think the real play is energy. Nevertheless, these are the four layers, guys. I can talk more and more, but
Hey,
yes,
I have a question.
go
Yeah,
for it.
so so let's assume that I'm a product manager for a Gen AI product,
Uh-huh.
and I have a question about weights and biases, the parameters that you mentioned. Like, let me first just put a bird's eye view of what I understood. So there's
Yeah,
something called
sure.
a model, and there's
Mhm,
something called context,
mhm.
and there are parameters. For example, weights, which is determined by the data that you put in, and there's something called bias, which is used in the next stage. And then there's a context window, which is just input and output, right?
Inferencing layer is not
Yeah,
can't.
sorry,
Yeah.
inferencing layer. Yeah, my
Yes.
bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you said weights. So I just wanted to understand how can we change or modify the weights and the biases?
So Ankit, the good part is that, or I'd rather say, for GPT, since it's a closed system, they will not allow you to play with the weights and biases, right? If you're creating your own model, then you can definitely play with the weights and biases. See, I'm talking about how the LLM was built. I'm not talking about how you can. What you're talking about is largely about the prompting layer, right? Um, I'm talking about, let's say, if you had to build GPT, you would be able to play with the weights and biases.
Okay,
But
so weights, I understand. We could probably change the data or modify the data
yeah,
whichever
yeah.
way we want, and that would change the weights. But how about bias? How do we change that? That's what I'm trying
By
to
the way, you
understand.
can also play with weights and play with the biases. With biases, the way to do it is smart prompting, Ankit, which is called chain prompting. I don't know whether anyone does everyone understand chain prompting, or do you want me to kind of give you a quick 2 minute? Do you understand it, Ankit? Chain prompting?
Uh, no, but like,
Okay. Okay,
I'm
I'll
just trying
explain.
to guess that you keep on giving prompts just
So
to, yeah.
uh,
Go ahead, go ahead. I
someone
don't know.
just
Yeah.
yeah, someone just said it, right? You're right. You get the gist of it. as in it's progressive prompting of some sorts, right? To say that I've written a prompt, it sometimes does not get it right. So I think one thing that I wanted to tell Pamit is that you can't compare a tool till you've actually exhausted all the combinations of making the right prompt, right? So you cannot compare a tool one or a tool two, because tool one might understand prompts in a different manner, tool two might understand prompts in a different manner, right? So it essentially means that if you are able to get to an answer, for example, one person said the word important, how does one LLM understand versus the other LLM? That was a brilliant question, because it actually is different. That was a brilliant question. It was so nuanced that person probably may or may not know, but it was a very nuanced question, because biases and weights are basis on the words, right? The phrases that you put in. So uh, it is about finding the right prompt, Ankit. So that's how you influence the system. And there are millions of people like you are influencing the system. So while biases are of two types, right? Um, Two types actually. One is user input biases, and then the other biases are set within the system. What do I mean set within the system? Let's say OpenAI itself has these sets of biases that they know these are facts and these are things that we want to run with. And then comes the consumer layer, which is where they start seeing chain prompting when the user is not getting the right information. That kind of sits in as a bias as well, right? So in one form or the other, Ankit, you're actually helping the system grow. And that's why these LLMs are ever evolving. They're so fast in evolving, is because there's millions and millions of data in the form of biases that are coming via prompts. I don't want to make sure that I don't want to kind of go very deep uh, um, in LLMs, and we can talk about neural networks and stuff like that. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what an LLM does. And that's why, guys, it's very important that you fill the context layer very well, which is to say, give it as much as context as you can, because the inferencing layer at the end of the day is dumb. So most of the people make a mistake by saying, oh, write a poem, and it didn't give me a good poem. But if you write the conditions well, if you kind of write and explain what you're trying to do to the LLM, and give it decent context, and sometimes we don't get the right context, right? Sometimes we don't get the right words. You have to play around with that. And that's what chain prompting comes into play. So prompt engineers became a thing because of this. I've read all white papers, Arnav. If you're asking me what's my source of knowledge, I've been working on generative AI products since last, I think, 18 months now. I've read all the papers. There's a group set of product managers that work with me. I've made sure that they stop writing PRDs and they start coding. So that's how we get knowledge.
Interesting.
I worked extensively in image generation. In fact, we're building a fashion app right now. Which allows us to kind of take someone's face and put it on that, put it on a model and so on and so forth. So we're working with Android right now, and soon hoping to work with Apple as well. But these were the few insights that I wanted to kind of make sure that while Pamit explained the application layer, I think it's very, very important that fundamentally you understand what it really does, what an
Right.
LLM does. Okay,
So
go
I
ahead.
was just checking how to select on LLM as part of product manager, Rumit, because that is something I observed, like that is the major better because the cost comes into the picture.
Very good question. It depends on the use case, though. And we didn't talk about RAG systems, which is what actually you're asking about. If you really want to choose an LLM, see what kind of use case is it trained on. So there is no, so every LLM says that this is the use case. So this is the use case that I'm trying to power for. So make presentations, right? Which means that they have created a RAG of some sort. So RAG is um, how do I put it? A retrieval augmented generation. These are bade bade gyani words, and actually fundamentally that means that today everything is trained on the internet. A RAG system says I'll train it on very specific data. So if you ask GPT today that how many moons does Saturn have, it will not be able to. Specialized trained GPT. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I'm going short of words. Specialized trained GPT, which is to say, grounds the model. Love this audience. You guys already know. Brilliant. So yes, grounding of data is very, very important, guys, which essentially means that that's how you choose your LLM to say, if it is trained on, let's say, presentations, it is definitely going to create a better presentation than GPT, right? Um, I think that's the gist of it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so I had one question, like for ethics and security. So how to incorporate features for that?
Very good question. Very, very good question. So, do you know that Apple was trying? I'll give you an example again. Maybe that'll help you understand. Apple did a tie-up with OpenAI. OpenAI is considered to be. By the way, I just want to say this aloud. I think no one says this. Privacy is a myth, guys. Data security, it's a myth. There is no such thing as privacy. We should all know that. I hope you do. But in the so-called companies that actually say कि GPT use nahi karna chahiye and all that use nahi karna chahiye, there are ways of actually handling that, and Apple has done it beautifully. Apple said the context layer. Yes, even yeah. I mean, Arnav, all your messages with your girlfriends are read, by the way. Even the how do I put it? Apple said the context layer. If you remember the context layer, the inferencing layer, Apple said the context layer will sit on the client, which means on the device. It will not leave your device. The inferencing layer is on the cloud. Inferencing layer is anyways dumb. It doesn't store any context. All context will be stored on the client, and that's how they said that they will solve for this. Make sense?